the occurrence of PTRS in more detail, these particular the x-axis here or the horizontal axis here represents the symbol number. The vertical axis or the y-axis represents the subcarrier number. Okay. Phase noise. Phase noise is present in any practical communication system, and it impacts the system by introducing random phase variation of the received signal. Okay, so phase noise is an imperfection which is introduced by the mixer, or precisely speaking the local oscillator or the oscillator, which we have to use while we are doing up conversion or down conversion of a passband signal. So as we can see in this picture that if our OFDM subcarriers are represented by impulses, then the phase noise, which has its frequency spectrum something like this, then the phase noise will introduce intercarrier interference and some common phase error on all the subcarriers. So with increasing carrier frequency, the variance or the impact of the phase noise increases, which leads to more pronounced problems. And we know that in NR, which are targeting carrier frequency of 6 GHz and above, which are millimeter wave, measures needs to be taken to reduce the phase noise impact to save from degradation. Because we know that millimeter wave is a very important application for NR, because the millimeter wave band offer potential channel bandwidth of several gigahertz. Furthermore, the small carrier wavelengths enable us to fit antenna arrays with very large number of antennas. So this is why millimeter waves become a very important application, or basically very important area to focus on. And as we know from that impact of phase noise increases with carrier frequency. So impact of phase noise becomes more pronounced on millimeter wave. So in such a system, like 5GNR at millimeter wave, phase noise becomes a major bottleneck. Okay, so now let's understand that what exactly is impacted by phase noise and how PTRS help us. So lower order modulation is less sensitive to phase error as compared to higher order modulation scheme. So this picture shows us the degradation for 64 QAM in presence of phase noise. Now, parallelly consider that if it is a case with QPSK, then there will be 4 constellation points. Okay, and the separation between two adjacent constellation points will be higher relative to any other higher order modulation scheme. So if phase noise is present and it is causing some phase rotation, then probability of error in QPSK will relatively be lower than any other higher order modulation scheme. So that's why PTRS will mainly be needed for UEs scheduled for higher order modulation scheme. Other than this, the impact of phase noise is typically visible in good radio conditions. Why? Because when radio conditions are good, the MCS allocation will be a higher number. That means the allocated modulation scheme will be a higher modulation scheme. That's why the impact of phase noise will be more visible in those scenarios. Other than this, if we consider uplink with DFTS OFDM, that particular application is for link budget limited scenarios. So that's why PTRS is present with lesser density for DFTS OFDM. We will explore, or we will understand this point as we go further. That's why from a resource utilization perspective, it is only beneficial to transmit PTRS when needed, because it's obviously it is an overhead. It is not carrying any useful information. It is just an overhead. Okay, so this picture actually shows the impact of different levels of PTRS, like improvement with different density of PTRS. So as an example, this time pattern 1 is more dense than time pattern 2, which is more dense than time pattern 4. So if we look at this is SNR versus throughput case. The pink curve is this one is the case when there is no phase noise and there is no PTRS. Okay, and black curve is, this one is the case when there is phase noise present but no PTRS. So we can see this is the maximum degradation. Okay, and this particular curve is improved maximum when the maximum density of PTRS is present. Similarly, if we look on SNR versus BER or BLER, which is block error rate curve, then we can see that the maximum improvement is when the PTRS is present with the maximum density. Also, we will understand the concept of PTRS density as we go further. Okay, so now let's touch upon or let's understand more about the phase tracking reference signal or PTRS. So it is intended for tracking phase variation across the transmission duration. Its main purpose is to track phase noise. PTRS needs to be dense in time but can be sparse in frequency, as phase noise tends to change across time but tends to remain relatively constant across frequency. A base station with multiple antenna ports may be designed to use a single local oscillator which is shared across antenna ports. Because the single source of phase noise and frequency offset, so it is sufficient to transmit PTRS using a single antenna port. Because let's say if we are using a MIMO system, then it is more probable that all the antenna elements are fed by same oscillator. Okay, so that's why the impact of phase noise will be same across those antennas. And also 3GPP dictates transmission of PTRS on single antenna ports. And it is good to know that PTRS only occurs in combination with DMRS. Okay, so when we are saying that uh, PTRS has to be more dense in time relative to frequency, so let's understand this with the help of this equation. So this equation tells us that uh, the input and output which are impacted by phase noise can be represented by this equation, where XMN is the input, N is the sample index, M is the symbol number. Similarly, for YMN, theta Mn represents the phase noise, and at the receiver side, there may be some errors in CFO estimation. So actually, this term counters for that, takes into account that the residual CFO, let's say. Okay, so if we plot this term uh, with respect to time, we can see that it is kind of a linear term. Okay, or basically it is more yeah, its variation is only across the time, or in other words, this term or the phase term, because of the phase noise, is constant across subcarriers, and it is varying only across the symbol number. Okay, so this is the reason we say that PTRS density has to be higher across time relative to frequency, because the variation is more on the time axis. Okay, so now let's understand that what 3GPP spec has to say about PTRS. So this particular equation tells us that how PTRS sequence looks for CPU FDM. Okay, so this is taken up from 3GPP 38.211, and it says that PTRS sequence is exactly similar to DMRS sequence. That means it is gold sequence and it is QPSK modulated. Okay, while the picture is different for DFT SOFDM. Okay, so this says that PTRS is mapped before transform P coding. Okay, so there were actually discussions on both fronts, that we can introduce PTRS before transform P coding or after transform P coding. But based on some research and their results, it was decided to keep PTRS mapping before transform P coding. Okay, but we won't go in that much detail in this. We will just take into account that PTRS is mapped before transform P coding. So that pattern and density of the insertion of PTRS in pre-DFT insertion is defined as shown in this table. Okay, So in time domain, these PTRS locations can be configured to be either present in every symbol or every other symbol or every symbol. Yeah, based on the time density. Okay, so just keep in mind that the this is uh, this is the picture of a symbol, and in one symbol we can divide the occurrence of PTRS in chunks, and in those chunks we can decide how many samples will be present in those chunks. Okay, and in this case it is decided based on the number of resource blocks and some NRB0 and NRB1 which are dictated by some higher layers. Okay, and these values can be like, for example, if we catch this, so this means that in one symbol there will be two chunks or two groups. This is the same as NPTRS group, and in one NPTRS group there will be n samples, or basically n group samples. We will understand this with one more example as we go further. Okay, so now let's understand about the time density or occurrence of PTRS symbol across time domain, across symbols. And this particular algo or this particular behavior is same for both CPO-FDM and DFT-SO-FDM. So the time density represents the time domain spacing between symbols allocated to PTRS. So there can be the 3GP spec says that the density can be 1, 2 or 4. So value of 4, it says that every fourth symbol can include PTRS, value of 2 every second symbol, and value of 1 every symbol can include PTRS. But there is one exception, like symbol allocation algorithm avoids PTRS being allocated to same symbol as the DMRS and also immediately after DMRS unless the time density is 1. Okay, so occurrence of PTRS resets after each DMRS sequence, and the time density of PTRS depends on the MCS index. Again, we also understood this earlier that there is some relation with the MCS index or the modulation scheme of the PTRS. So actually the density or the overhead, or basically how frequently we need PTRS, that also depends that how bad the situation is. So higher the MCS index, higher the coding rate, lower the redundancy or more impact of the phase noise. In that case, we need higher density of PTRS symbols. This is one way to understand this. Another way is higher the MCS index, higher the modulation scheme, and there will be high impact of phase noise, and we need higher density to resolve that. Okay. Okay, so let's understand the time density concept with these pictures. Okay, so let's first catch LPTRS is equals to 2. So it says that time density is 2. In that case, we will, so this x-axis is the symbol number here. Okay, and y-axis is the subcarrier here. The blue color, we are representing the DMRS. The orange color, we are representing the PTRS. We'll start with the first symbol, allocate PTRS on first symbol, and yes, the on which subcarrier it is present, it is also based on some equations. We will understand that, but for now let's assume that it is present on this particular subcarrier. Okay, we will start on the first symbol, then the PTRS should occur on the second after this, but on the second DMRS is present. So the method says that PTRS should not be present on the DMRS symbol, and the occurrence resets after occurrence of the DMRS symbol. So it will occur after the second symbol or after leaving one gap, and then on every alternating symbol PTRS will occur, which is denoted by the LPTRS is equals to 2. Now comes the case LPTRS is equals to 4. As we will start again the same concept, we will start at the first symbol, then I'll count, uh, ideally I should have counted 4 from here, like 1, 2, 3, 4. It should have been present here, but because the DMRS symbol is present here, the counting will reset. So I'll count 4 from here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is present on this particular symbol. Okay. Similarly here actually. I'll count 2 from here, 1, 2, 1, 2, and so on. Okay, so it is present on the symbol. Now I'll again count 4 from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. It is present on this symbol. Okay, and this picture actually showing only one slot, so that means only 14 symbols. So this is limited to that. So this is how we can get to know that on which particular symbols the PTRS is present based on their time density. Okay, so this picture actually, or basically these equations actually tells us that on which subcarrier the PTRS will be present. Okay, so let's try to understand this particular equation. Okay, so in this case, the first term is the subcarrier offset. Okay, we can get to know this from this table. And yes, this is also taken up from 3GPP specs. KRB ref is also, it is also the resource block offset. Okay, from we can get to know from this particular equations. Now comes how dense it will be across the subcarriers or basically across the RBs. So which is dictated by this parameter KPTRS, and KPTRS depends on 2 or 4. Its value can be 2 or 4 based upon the number of allocated resource blocks. Okay, so to simplify it further, let's assume that both the offsets are 0. In that case, let's assume both offsets are zeros, and let's assume that KPTRS is 2. Okay, so from this equation we can get to know that PTRS will be present on the first subcarrier of first RB, then first subcarrier of third RB, basically, and then first subcarrier of fifth RB, and so on. Basically, it is present on every alternating RB. Okay, and we can get to know the same, or we can extend the same concept when KPTRS is equals to 4. Okay, so the subcarrier allocation is not same for DFTS or FTM, and the subcarrier allocation or the location of the PTRS across the subcarrier domain is dictated by this table. It is also taken up from 3GPP spec. So just take the example or just read the first row. It is telling us that if the number of PTRS group is 2, number of samples in a group are also 2, then from this equation we can calculate the location of the PTRS. Okay. Another important point is also to note from this that we can know that for this particular case, in one symbol there will only be 4 subcarriers for PTRS. Okay, which actually again tells us that for DFTS OFDM the density or the number of PTRS resource elements are lesser if we compare it with CPU FDM. Okay, so now let's take an example to calculate the number of subcarriers in one slot. Uh, take bandwidth equals to 100 megahertz, subcarrier spacing is equals to 30 kilohertz. In that case, number of resource blocks are 273. So for for CPU FDM, let's assume the PTRS parameters are L is equals to 2, K is equals to 2. In that case, number of PTRS subcarriers are we can calculate by this. So you can try yourself it once and let me know in the comments that whether you reach to the correct answer, and if you have any doubt also please put that in the comments. So this is basically that I'll just give you a hint that this is the number of symbols for which the PTRS is present. Okay, similarly for the case of DFTS OFDM, if the PTRS parameters are these, then the number of PTRS subcarriers are 24. Okay, so here I have tried to explain the occurrence of PTRS in more detail. Okay, so these particular or the x-axis here or the horizontal axis here represents the symbol number, The vertical axis or the y-axis represents the subcarrier number. Okay, this is the case of CPU FDM. L is equals to 2, K is equals to 2. Okay, blue represents TMRS, orange represents PTRS. In this case, uh, again from the same example, uh, the PTRS occurrence will be on it will start with the first symbol, and then because the TMR has represent here, it will skip here, it will not allocate PTRS here, and then the counting will again start from fresh. So 1 2 it will occur here, 1 2 it will occur here, and so on. And regarding the allocation of the RB side, if K is equals to 2, PTRS will occur on every alternating RB, on every alternating resource block. So it is occurring, if it is occurring in the first RB, it will not come in the second, it will come in the third, and so on. Okay. So this picture actually clarifies the location of the PTRS in more detail. Now if we look on the same picture for DFTS OFDM, if the parameters are like this, and in that case we should read the first row of the table, then the occurrence will be like this, that there will be two groups in one symbol. This is group 1, this is group 2, and one group will contain two samples. Okay, as shown in here. Okay, so this is from this actually we can get to know. Yeah, one more thing, that in this case this need not be the first RB, but just for the sake of simplicity I started here. But this actually could be some nth RB. We can get to know from the previous equation. Okay, so for DFTS or FDM, this will be the picture.